Message and data rates may apply.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, fatter? We need to bring the men of this country back to greatness. And it's easier than ever with Ageless Male Max, a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone, promoting greater increases in muscle size and twice the reduction of body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word ROCK to 797979. Finally, a formula that boosts total testosterone. If your results with Ageless Male Max are too intense, please decrease use. For your free bottle, text ROCK to 797979. Text ROCK to 797979.
What the hell? What the hell?
What the hell?
What in the hell? What the hell?
What the hell?
What in the hell is happening?
What the hell?
What the hell?
What the hell?
HE double hockey six.
What the hell?
What in the hell?
The heck, man?
The hell?
The hell? WTH?
The hell?
What the hell?
Oh, hell.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell?
The hell,
What's going on?
The hell, man? I mean, what's going on?
What the hell? He wanted the Celtics?
What the hell? Would have been an easy matchup.
Yeah, it would have been.
We match up way better.
Yeah,
Way better.
Dominated
Way
the season. One their court, one on our court. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How often has LeBron lost that basketball
The
game?
hell?
What in the hell?
What the hell, man?
What the hell is happening?
Mike, what the hell?
What, Roy? I don't know what the hell. Can you tell me what the hell?
I don't know what the hell.
Allison,
Billy,
what the hell? Allison, what the hell? The hell?
Stugotz, what the hell?
The hell? Stugotz.
What?
The hell?
Hell, man. What the hell?
Arnaldo, what the hell? What the hell? What the hell?
I mean, what the hell?
Aqua?
DJ Khaled, what the hell?
Miami, what the hell? Boston, another one, what the hell?
Dr. Phil, what the hell?
Boston, what the hell? What are you doing?
What the hell are you
You should have said, what the hell are you doing?
What the hell? $2. What the hell are the Caps doing, dude? They had that series in the bag, man. Then the Bolts came up to Washington and blew them away. The hell? What's going on? What the hell?
What the hell?
The Cavs are pooping!
Let me tell you something. You definitely talk about a Cleveland Cavaliers team, and you start asking yourself, what in the hell?
Is death metal hockey guy anywhere around? Has anyone seen him? He's usually a late riser. Parties all night.
What in the home?
He's always around conversations
Wait a minute.
regarding
Wait
hell.
a minute. What in the home? I thought that would be more demon of debate.
They're cousins.
Are they? They're related.
What the hell? I'm Elon Musk.
Such a funny visual joke when we're on television. Less funny when you're just speaking behind a muffled mask and people just think that Roy's bad at his audio job. Roy's bad at the levels.
Mask probably not necessary yet, to be honest with you.
I wonder how the radio audience experiences your Elon Musk. Because it's funny visually when you wear that mask.
What in the hell? What in the hell?
What in the hell? Allison Turner.
Zaslow, what's going on?
You don't talk about the Boston Celtics. I tell you, Boston Celtics, awesome. See this stupid face, LeBron? Huh? What the hell? Huh?
Does Zagacki have an opinion on any of this? We're really. I'll give you some time to think because I know that this isn't easy.
The Celtics were like a marching band on sneakers. I asked myself, what the hell? 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 times.
Does he ever lose that game?
This was a day removed from Stugotz telling me the Cavs never lose that game.
Yeah.
No, but does he ever lose that? When he puts up that stat line, does he ever lose?
Only when he wants to.
They didn't play any defense last night.
He didn't.
Oh man, he's not free from blame there. If you want to lead by example on one end of the court, nobody on that team was playing defense. Jeff Van Gundy was rightfully killing them. That was a team giving up on one end of the court. First half, too. It wasn't just the second half. I mean, he was doing that in the first half. Wasn't helping, just letting people go right down the lane. I mean, they weren't doing anything. That's the thing with LeBron. He can put up that stat line, and so you can't question his effort. Like, you just can't do it. Most people can't do it. I will do it today because his effort was terrible, especially defensively.
And it's certainly easier to put up that stat line when your efforts are solely concentrated on one end of the floor.
Man, but you guys, okay, it's fair criticism. I'm not saying it's not fair criticism, but where is he supposed to rest? Like, he is getting that little help on offense. He's got to get his breaks somewhere. Like, if he's going to have to carry everything, if he comes out like that with 21 points in the first quarter, you can't say he's not trying in the first quarter when he's putting up 21 points.
You can't say that. Well, Dan, there are two sides of the floor. You can say that he's trying offensively and defensively. You can say that he's tired. That's fine. I saw lack of effort many times. I saw things that he doesn't normally do.
All right, but what is the difference? You explain to me the difference other than your judgment, your stinging criticism, and you coming after his character between being tired and not trying. You tell me what's the difference, because I think those things probably look the same.
I never see him get tired.
Okay, but how can he not bleep and be tired?
I mean, he was out right after the half. Jaylen Brown is dusting him. When have you ever seen someone drive by LeBron James with such ease? We're talking about Jaylen Brown. He's a nice player, but this isn't, Speedy Claxton out there.
But don't you guys agree that at some point there's a cumulative effect? Speedy Claxton, excellent average NBA player.
But fast. Hence the name Speedy.
Thank you, Stugotz.
Yep.
What is Speedy's real name?
It's not Speedy?
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you know Speedy's real name?
God, I hope it's Speedy.
No, it's not going to be Speedy, Stugotz.
You never know.
You do know. The name is not Speedy.
It's Craig.
Oh. Doesn't work as well. I mean, Craig Claxton.
Although not a bad name.
Not a great name.
It's a good porn name. Put that on the poll. Is Craig Claxton a good porn name?
Speedy's not. What are you trying to hit over there?
My laugh button doesn't. It didn't work.
Oh, so I get that?
The laugh button didn't work. There it is. I'm asking the question again. Outside of those games that he played when he was in the finals against the Warriors and you knew he was going to lose because he was playing the Kobe brand of 40 shots a game and making 15, and he was just doing everything offensively because he had so little help because Love and Irving were hurt. Outside of that, when does he put up that stat line and lose? Did he do it with the Heat in the finals, Mike, against the Spurs, the last?
I think he did it didn't he have a triple-double in that final game against Boston?
Yes, he did, but it was a small triple-double. It was a triple-double, but it was like 19, 12, and 11 or something. Or, I know, small triple-double, but still, it wasn't a 40-point triple-double.
This is the second time in his career he's lost with at least 42, 10 rebounds, 12 assists.
Where's the other time? What's the other time? That's regular season and playoffs?
No, regular season. This was with Cleveland in 2010, February 18th.
That's the part that's crazy. He went and summoned the effort, and Boston, that we know. Come on, man. Look, we can celebrate Boston all we want as overachievers. They've absolutely surprised me. I thought they were vulnerable. I'm wrong. But, come on. that team can't take LeBron's best punch unless his team is totally broken.
It's only the 7th time in NBA history that someone has lost with those stats.
Do you realize that when LeBron had that game for Miami, and it's one of maybe the best game in a Heat uniform anyone's ever had under the conditions, given that they were playing for the blueprint Game 6. But you get some defense.
Right.
Do you remember how he was in that Miami game? It is the death stare game. It's the only time he looked like that in a Miami uniform, where he was just super locked in. The blueprint was on the line. Everything was pressurized, and he went to Boston, and he closed down the place, and he closed down Garnett and Pierce and Allen as a trifecta. He shut it down by going to Boston and having that game.
Right.
Total homer, but greatest game considering the circumstances. I've never seen such a pressure-filled. That was more pressure-filled than some NBA Finals game.
That's the most pressurized game. That's odd to say. It's the most pressurized game the Miami Heat have ever played, and that includes Game 7 of the Finals. It's the most pressurized game going into the game because you thought they were going to blow it up if he lost.
Yeah, the whole thing was on the line.
I didn't crap right for a month.
Yeah. He had some of that first half, like last night. He did. He had some of that going.
Oh, my God. That turning fadeaway three in front of the bench.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell?
What the hell?
Weird.
The hell?
But then Jaylen Brown just starts dusting him. And I'm asking myself, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What the hell?
And J.R. Smith, what the hell? What the hell?
No, wait a minute. Don't do that to J.R. Smith. When you trust J.R. Smith, then you get stuck trusting J.R. Smith. Like, just because he reinvented himself by winning a title, you're still trusting J.R. Smith.
If you're trusting J.R. Smith, I'd ask you, what the hell?
Right? That's on you.
J.R.,
Put that on the poll, Guillermo. If you're trusting J.R. Smith, what the hell? Yes or no?
But guys, Kyle Korver wasn't bad last night. He had 11 points.
They didn't play him, though.
He only played 21 minutes.
Decided at the end of the game to put in J.R. Smith. I don't know what the hell that was.
J.R. Smith, 27 minutes. Kyle Korver, 21 minutes. Kyle Korver, 11 points. J.R. Smith, 0 points. What the hell?
J.R. Smith at the end of that game, that's just temper tantrum frustration. Pushing Al Horford in the back.
Or it's just J.R. Smith.
Oh, my God. I'm looking at this box score right now. Guys, combined points, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance.
Oh, their backcourt. No, wait a minute, Mike. The backcourt was outscored 41-3, I think. That's not even counting. You're talking about Larry Nance. The backcourt for the Cavs was outscored 41-3. George Hill, missing piece.
He's doing the guys that get back for Kyrie Irving. The four guys. I mean, they scored 3 more points than Kyrie, who didn't play.
George Hill, J.R. Smith, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr. combined for 0 points. Did Clarkson even play?
No, did not play.
I mean, they combined for 5 points. What the hell? What the hell?
Yeah.
Now, how does Miami feel about all of that? Not the Heat, the city.
It's different for me. It's different for me. I'm enjoying it, but not nearly. Are you kidding? Not nearly as much as I would have before he won the title. If this would have been, keep in mind what had to have happened, an epic failure. This could have been an entire Cleveland run without a title, and this would have been how it ended. The hell.
They were down 2-0 against Golden State the year they won.
Yeah,
that's the only solace they have.
The Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only solace they have.
Well,
is
they're
that
going home.
They've been there in the finals against a better team. No, but what I'm saying is the only solace that they have is in the finals, down 2-0 against a Warriors team that is clearly better than the Celtics team. They came back and won. I don't see any other solace that they have the night after. LeBron takes your shoulder to his jaw, leaves concussed. You get the LeBron game, the game that Stugotz was predicting, the game we all expected.
Yep.
And you get throttled anyway. Like, you get throttled anyway because in the second half you get scorched. Now, I know Stugotz has said, let me ask you this question, Stugotz, because you have said that Tom Haberstroh has jumped the sharks. You are tired of all the stats in basketball.
Yep. He jumped the shark at, telling us yesterday that someone dribbled the ball 1,077 times in a game.
Does this stat do anything for you as someone who doesn't like all of the extraneous stats? You want to guess how many open looks the Cavs had last night? The Cavs, open looks.
Open looks for the Cavaliers?
Take a guess. Just open looks the entire game.
26.
11. Want to guess how many the Celtics had for the entire game?
15.
42.
Wow. What the hell?
Sometimes it's hard to find a satisfying vape that's simple and convenient. Blue, who introduced vaping to the world, is now introducing My Blue. My Blue gives you all the satisfaction with none of the hassle. Just click and go. With My Blue's easy-to-use one...
Don Lebatard. You introduced me to a great masseuse. Jeff Finney is his name. Now, there was a time where Jeff Finney was giving me massage on a weekly basis. He's rough. Like, he stretches you out, and it's really, really rough. Stugotz. And I sent him a text, or I thought I sent him a text saying, hey, 9 o'clock tonight, I'm ready for you to work on me. I sent it to Jeff DeForest.
This is the Dan Lebatard show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
So Stugotz has been defending himself since yesterday against allegations from me that he doesn't listen to the interviews, and he specifically wasn't listening to Windhorst's answer when he asked a question. Today, again this morning, he defends himself saying, Dan, it was a fair question. And I'm saying to him, the only reason I corrected you was not because it wasn't a fair question.
Right.
It's because it was so very obvious that you weren't listening to anything that Windhorst said. You were just doing the sports radio thing of, I'm going to talk now, you talk, I'll wait for you to stop talking, and then I'll talk.
I actually had, I do that often, but I actually had a different question written down to ask Brian Windhorst. I pivoted away from that question to ask him the question that I asked because I was, for, the first time in a long time, I was listening. I heard what Windhorst said.
Okay.
And so my whole thing, like, listen, you left me alone on, no credibility island. That's what you did. And you totally bailed on me. And what I'm telling you is you asked a couple of weeks ago, would I allow you in the Stugotz Army? And I did. And part of being in the Stugotz Army is defending me in good times and in bad
really?
times.
I didn't know that was part of basic
just
training.
As easily as I let you in this army, I can kick you out. I'm
yes,
just telling
you can.
you.
Yes, you can, because you are the general. Worse than that, you cannot just kick me out. You might, given the way this army functions, be able to behead me.
Oh, I don't want to behead you. That's a bit strong. But what I was thinking was, with Windhorst, it was interesting because, Dan, he's been around. He's the guy. Who's the LeBron guy in the media? It's Brian Windhorst. When you want information on on LeBron James, who do you go to? You go to Brian Windhorst. And so he answered that question like, hey, nothing this postseason is going to happen that's going to determine where he goes next year. He'll make that decision in the summer.
Let's listen to it together here, because I haven't heard it a second time. And as Mike Ryan pointed out to you yesterday, Mike Ryan is the one that initially was appalled because of how clear it was to him that you weren't listening. Now, I noticed the same thing. I took my cue from Mike, and I abandoned you, and I was traitorous to the Stugotz Army.
What I was doing was pushing and pressing with respect, because I know we respect Brian Windhorst. You like him. He's a credible journalist. I like Brian Windhorst. But I was respectfully pushing and poking Brian Windhorst.
Well, let's listen to it again, and let's leave it for the audience. And again, the question isn't whether this is a fair question Stugotz is asking. I don't think it's an unfair question to ask. But you tell us if Stugotz's question was lined up 30 seconds before Windhorst started talking, or whether that question came from something he heard from Windhorst that someone would follow up on in a natural human conversation that's not sports radio. I talk, you talk, I talk. We don't remember anything anyone said.
He knows what this team is, and there's no mystery here. It's not like, I wonder if this team can get over the hump. That's not the way it is. It's not like it was the last time around in Cleveland. The die is cast. He knows exactly what he has. His decision this summer will be predicated on what his choices are, not predicated on how this season ends.
But do you think he's made a decision to leave Cleveland yet?
No, come on, Stu. That's a ridiculous question.
Why? I don't think it's ridiculous at all, Brian.
But after what he just said, you weren't listening to anything he just said.
No, I heard everything he just said, but no.
Yeah. He's in fact, he's already packed up.
Yeah.
If he says it's predicated on what his options are, we don't know. The draft hadn't even happened, so we don't know who has the assets yet.
I find it nearly impossible to believe.
That's fine. That's not what
the guy who covers LeBron James is so naive that he doesn't know LeBron's made this decision already, and that's what I was asking.
Again.
Thank you.
And what I'm asking is, were you listening?
I mean, listen, the question I had fired up for Windhorst was, this is the question I had, to be honest. So, I mean, I had
Yo, chicken time.
I've earned it. I've earned it. I'm not going to fight with you, chickens. I'm not going to fight with you.
You just wait for your turn to talk. And I heard that edit what Windhorst said. If I kept the previous 2 minutes, it would have been even more painfully obvious that you weren't listening.
I'm going to fight with the chickens.
You can't fight with them.
Can't fight with the chickens.
Undefeated, never lost.
I hate these chickens.
All right, chickens, you win. As always, you win. Back in the coop.
Whatever. Thanks, I mean.
Don't test me.
It's just, I mean, really, all our rulings, everything comes down to a bunch of chickens. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I can't win against the chickens. No one can win against me.
These hands! You want to get these hands!
The talent.
You want to get these talents! You get these feathers! You want to get these wings!
Get back in the cage, people. Chickens.
No, I'm mad!
Guillermo, speaking of chickens, help me with your beloved Forged in Fire show. I saw some dude. I saw some dude yesterday.
So that's a wrap on the Windhorst thing?
I don't know. Do you want to keep arguing it? You didn't want to argue with the chickens. Do you want to argue with me?
No, I don't want to argue with you. You bailed on me. That's fine. I'll see what the Army wants to do about it. But let's get back to Forge and Fire.
Well, do you want to make it a poll question?
No, I don't want to make it a poll question. The chickens have ruled.
That's right. The chickens rule, and they have ruled. But I saw the other day, Forged in Fire, a guy who claims to be an expert in Filipino mixed martial arts makes his own knife. And he gets past the ice round, which is just something that whenever the ice gets stuck in my freezer, I take a turkey baster and I break it up in there. I just break up the ice. So he got past the first round, the ice with his knife. But you know where he was foiled? A dead chicken. He couldn't wipe his sword through a dead chicken.
I haven't seen that one yet. I'm going to assume that Greg Cody would have an issue with this man claiming that he's an expert in Filipino martial arts. Am I right in assuming that? Based on his Benihana
He was not
experience?
Filipino.
Yes.
He was from Georgia.
So what you're talking about is actually Forged in Fire Knife or Death, which is like a spin-off that's hosted by Goldberg. And I'm not really I'm not as in on it as I am in Forged in Fire, because in Forged in Fire, they give you things and you have to make your own weapon. Now, in Knife or Death, you can make your own weapon, but you can also take weapons that people have given you or that you've purchased or whatever. And then they have this kind of bogus safety test at the beginning that you have to cut through a mat. But everybody, I think I've only seen one person not get through the safety test. And they let them try anything. You could take a Swiss Army knife and they'd probably let you go through the thing. So there's different rounds. You have to cut these things and then fire falls. And then the chicken that you're saying is a surprising part in the course where a lot of people get stopped. Because it's the fifth or sixth thing that they have to get through. They have to cut through ropes first where fire falls. Then they have to cut through these double insulated clay pots. It's not clay, plastic pots. So it's numbing your blade. Then you have to cut through this ice. So people are exhausted. So they see the chicken and they're like, oh, this is going to be easy. And they go at it at a bad angle so they don't get through the chicken. And if they get through the chicken, then they can't get through the fish because they can't get through the spine or whatever. You have to cut through the back of the fish when you get to the fish. And you have to go quickly at an angle through the chicken. If not, you're not going to get through it. And people, you can compete with any size blade that you want. Smaller blades, larger blades. The larger blades, honestly, they get people really tired. And some of them you have to wield with 2 hands, but there's people wielding them with 1 hand. It's as much about technique as it is about your weapon. And that's why a lot of people fail at the chicken. After the chicken, you have to cut through this. It's like a curtain of meat almost. And you got to do a quick whoosh. That one's easy. And then you have to go through a metal thing. And then the way this works, Dan, is I haven't figured out how many competitors yet. It's 8, 9, 10 competitors that go through this first round. And the 2 fastest move on to the next round, which I don't remember the name, but it's a cool name for what it is that the final round is called. I mean, the show's called Knife or Death, so obviously it's going to have a cool name for the round. And then that one, you have to hit these swinging stakes and these swinging things. It's a cool show, but I like the other one better because I can see people build the swords. Here, it's kind of you can just buy a sword and be on the thing.
Are they cutting through an actual chicken or chicken meat?
No, it's like a dead chicken. It's like a frozen chicken, basically.
It's a chicken with no feathers on it.
I was imagining the feathers, and that was gruesome. And
yes, that is gruesome.
Terrible.
It doesn't. You don't have any memory of it being a chicken. It just looks like a big turkey. Okay.
No, but I will say this: actual Forged in Fire, the original one, they've gotten kind of gruesome with the things that they the other day they had to cut through deer, but it still had the fur on it, and I was like, this is too much. Like, I could see the animal. Like, when it's normally just a pig or whatever, I'm like, oh, I see that on Noche Buena. It's fine. I can live with them cutting through, like, a pig. But a deer was kind of like, whatever. And then, when they have those ballistic dummies, they've had tests where they have to decapitate the ballistic dummy. And those things have organs in them, and, like, ribs and, like, everything. And they go in, and it's like, oh, my God, that was like a person's spleen that they just ripped out. Like, I could actually see this happening to humans, and it's kind of like, I feel like we need to up the rating on the show a little bit. Like, I think it's like 14. Maybe we go a little bit higher with the rating on this. Yeah. And by the way, they finally put like a disclaimer at the front, like saying, hey, if you're an idiot, don't try to, make a sword because you're going to burn your town down. Like what happened. Yes, Stugotz, you seem to have a question.
Is it Dead Run? Is that the final thing?
Yeah,
I
think Dead Run is the name of the final one. Man, each of the obstacles has like a badass name, and I just don't remember what they are yet because I'm kind of out on it. Because it's bogus. Like, I could go with a sword and I'd be on the show. I don't have to know how to do anything with it. And you can tell that there's people that don't know what they're doing on there. They just got a sword. Like, one guy, he's like, oh, I know, he like somehow got his friend to smuggle a sword in Asia from one country to another country so they could send it back to him. And they didn't that's the only guy I haven't seen them let test his blade because they didn't know the metal and it was like glued together.
We need to get you on this show.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. My stamina wouldn't be great. And you know what? I don't understand why when they're going to hit the ice, you would think just keep going kind of in the same area. Sometimes they like hop around and it's like, guys, you just need to get to the middle and then the liquid comes out.
I have a list of the events here.
Okay, what are they?
Give me your thoughts. First round, knife fight.
Knife fight, yeah.
All right. First obstacle, Trailblazer.
Yeah, Trailblazer is how I'll get up and I'll show you. Trailblazer, you have like 6 or 7 ropes on the thing and you have to cut the rope. And then it has like this arm that has a flame, and the flame falls like into like a sand pit. So you have to just kind of go. It depends. Again, this depends on your weapon and the strength of the individual. So a lot of the people, if they have good technique and they're strong, they'll just hammer. They'll just boom, 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 and then everything goes. And then they get past the line. Time stops. Boop. Time stops.
Next is a stick and move.
Stick and move is the one where you have like 3 like
hanging containers.
Well, you have a hanging container that's like it's like a pot, like a plastic pot, and it's filled with dirt. And you have to hit it, and enough of it has to come out that the weight on the other end goes down and hits the floor. Now, this is what happens. A lot of people are hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. It breaks, and they think they're good. The weight doesn't hit the floor, penalty. So they do that. Then there's like this wooden box filled with like sawdust. You have to get through that. Again, weight has to hit the floor before you move on. A lot of people don't do that, penalty. And then there's like these tubes. Key is you cut the tops of the tubes, and then all the weight comes down, hit the floor. A lot of people don't do that, penalty.
All right, following
block of ice.
Following that is the ice pick, which we covered.
Block of ice, you need to just get through halfway through the ice where there's the tube with the red liquid in it. As soon as the red liquid comes out, you're good. Move on.
All right, next obstacle is a lifeline.
That's where the chicken and the fish, and then there's like this other tube filled with sand and all kinds of other contraptions. Sometimes they switch the order. Sometimes the fish is in the middle. Sometimes the fish is last.
Then the dead run.
Dead run, yeah. That's when you go through the sleeve of the curtain of meat. You just, that one's easy. You go right through that, and then you have to go through like this giant sheet of metal. That takes 7-8 swings, depending on the size of your weapon.
Steak knife?
That's you just stick your knife in a piece of wood, and that's when your time stops.
Extinguisher,
that is... Oh, no, the steak knife might be the one where you start the next round, where it's like 7 things of meat hanging, and it spins around, and you have to spin it, and you have to cut the meat.
All right, then what's extinguisher?
Extinguisher is the other one, I think, where there's like 12 things going through it.
Yes, $222.
Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's TREX.com.
Don Batard.
I've been watching this show about swords where they make swords out of like junkyard material on the History Channel. I'm hoping there's some new episodes of that I could see on demand. That would be nice. Forged in Fire, it's called.
Stugotz.
They give you like a random thing and you have 3 hours and you need to forge that piece of metal, whether it's like a spring from a truck or like just a random piece of like tractor. And you need to get that into like part of a blade that they give you. So then, after that, they eliminate the person that hasn't done that the best. There's 4 people when you start. And then the next round, you need to give it a handle, and then they eliminate someone from there. And then, after 5 days, you have 3 tests, and they come back, and it's more like strength tests and stuff, and then they choose the Forged in Fire champion. $10,000.
Whoa.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
All right, he's been away for a couple of weeks here, but former Marlins team president David Samson going to join us right now in the Orion Fuel and Downstairs Convenience Store guest line. They are truly steps beyond convenient.
We review movies with him. We talk about the business of sports. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in the business of sports right now. David Samson with us on 790 The Ticket. But we begin in the obvious place by reviewing, is it a Netflix movie? Borg versus McEnroe, is that a Netflix or is that HBO?
I think it was a movie, a released movie, a theatrical release movie, but I watched it from iTunes. And it was it's an actual movie. It was not a documentary, which is what I thought it was, until I saw John McEnroe get on the screen, and it was actually Shia LaBeouf. And I realized we have a movie on our hands. It was a full-length movie about their 1980 finals, but that's not really what it's about, which is why I wanted to review it. They're claiming it's about the greatest tiebreaker in the history of tennis, which was the 4th set tiebreaker, but it's really about the life that was Bjorn Borg. What a tortured soul. And we had no idea when we were watching him as kids how tortured he really was from childhood. So I actually enjoyed the actor who played Borg. It was mostly in Swedish, his part, but it was phenomenal. So it's a good iTunes pick for a plane ride or for a Sunday afternoon in the park with George.
McEnroe was always the more colorful one. Borg was the better one and the stoic one. I did not know his past was interesting. What's interesting about his past?
He was tortured by family and by his desire to be great. And he had a coach who was abusive, who stayed with him all throughout. And actually, if you go back and watch the actual match, this coach is always with his wife. This coach was played by Stellan Skarsgård. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, who's a phenomenal actor from the Marvel series, actually, among other things. But he just had this drive that McEnroe never had. McEnroe was all fury, and Borg internalized everything, and that's what made their friendship great. Postscript, they're best friends to this day.
The guy who played Borg really pulled it off, but I'm wondering, because I haven't seen the movie, I've heard from a number of people, I'm just saying he looks exactly like Borg. Did Shia LaBeouf pull off John McEnroe? Because I have a hard time seeing that.
Not at all. And that's what I'm saying. That's when the movie, he wasn't even good at being McEnroe. But the good news is the movie is much more about Borg, and it's much more cerebral about Borg's life. McEnroe's a supporting character, but the casting just didn't work for me. Anyone can scream and say, "You can't be serious," which is McEnroe's favorite line, of course, or "You cannot be serious." But LaBeouf, he never got lost in that role. I never pictured him as McEnroe. So he was mediocre, to say the least.
Is Shia LaBeouf good?
I've seen him good in a couple of movies. I just can't remember their names, but he's so distracting by his off-the-field antics that he's pretty much lost his career, I would say.
Really? You can't separate the art from the artist?
When I can't, in that case, that means he's gone too far.
One movie I saw, HBO is doing some amazing stuff, and I saw Wizard of Lies last night, Bernie Madoff's story with Robert De Niro as the star.
I saw it. I liked it.
Well, somehow they managed to make the Madoffs, they managed to make you feel bad for the Madoffs, that's hard to pull off. It's a hard one to pull off.
Does that make it good?
Well, I enjoyed the movie. De Niro was good in it. I enjoyed the story. I just couldn't believe how much. It's not surprising that the family suffered, given that one of the sons died and one of the sons killed himself. But to see the suffering played by Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert De Niro, it was very strong. It was a strong movie.
As a New Yorker, I have a very hard time thinking about that because I see the suffering that other people were caused by what Madoff did, and it goes to this day. I'm talking charities that even you've worked with, Dan and Stu, that were impacted and have not recovered yet because of what Madoff did.
What can you tell us about the inner workings of baseball and the Wilpons, the Mets owners getting engulfed in that Madoff thing? Do you have any working knowledge of how that hurt their business?
Well, I think all you have to do is look at where their payroll went and look to see what the Mets had to do in terms of looking for minority partners. And, Fred Wilpon never shied away from the fact that he was involved with Madoff and that he was friends with Madoff and he was shocked by what happened. You can look at the Mets as the first team who did really deferred comp. And back in the Bonilla days, no one really knew what that was for, what that was about. When you look back on it, it sort of makes sense. If you pay Bonilla 3% interest, but you're making 15% interest, you might as well not pay Bonilla for as long as possible. But then what happens when you're not making 3%? All of a sudden you're losing money and still paying Bonilla. So we never thought it was a Ponzi scheme. We thought it was brilliance on the part of the Mets, and I think they did too. And that's when everybody started deferring money in baseball, and that's when they changed the rules about having to fund the deferrals up front, which defeats the purpose of deferring money. So Madoff had an impact on Major League Baseball from the beginning, and his impact is actually still felt.
Did Madoff ever come after Jeffrey?
I have no idea. Not that I was ever told. The only one who came after the Marlins was Rothstein, and he did deals with the other sports teams down here in Florida. And the Marlins, as far as I know, were the only team who turned him down. There was just something wrong to me personally about a law firm that had that amount of money to invest in sports sponsorships.
Wait a minute, David, you're not playing the result there? You saw that it was sketchy.
I'm not playing the result. You can ask my corporate sales team who wanted the commission. I certainly had no idea the depth of that it was a Ponzi scheme. It didn't even occur to me. It just didn't smell right that this law firm. I remember walking into the Performing Arts Center in Broward and seeing a big stand-up photo of Rothstein. I've just never seen that with any law firm, and I've been dealing with law firms forever because I've been getting sued forever, and I just never saw a law firm take that public a stance. So it just seemed off to me.
In retrospect, you called it brilliant. In retrospect, the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla. They got to give him whatever it is, $1 million a year through like 2020 something. In retrospect, having done all of the math, you're still saying that was a really smart play by the Mets, not by Bonilla.
Well, it's smart by both, right? Because Bonilla is a player who still gets a paycheck all these years later when, you know, he's working for the union and he's looking about 3.25 right now, but he still gets paid $1 million a year. Not a terrible savings plan. It's like a forced savings plan for a player or for any person. From the Mets standpoint, it's got to hurt paying $1 million still to Bobby Bonilla.
What can you tell us about gambling and the Supreme Court ruling as a business insider? What can you tell us about what all of this means to the future of sports and how big a day that was when the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 to basically legalize gambling?
It was actually 6-3, but not that it matters. Once it's over 5, it doesn't matter. But here's what it is: nothing. MLB's been preparing for this. So has the NFL and the NBA. And they're deciding how they're going to monetize it. Mark Cuban goes on the air and says our franchises are worth double. He's just spewing because he wants it to be true. They haven't figured out yet in any way how they're going to make money. What will it look like in 10 years? Will it be like the EPL where you can go to Marlins Park and actually bet on who's going to win the game, who's going to throw the first strikeout, who's going to make the first out? Those type of prop bets are really dangerous, and I don't think baseball is going to go there, nor should they. But all the leagues know that gambling happens. All that's happening is the states now get revenue that bookies used to. The biggest impact for Monday was on bookies, not on the leagues, not on franchise values, not on anything else other than the mob needs to look for different business if this passes in states. But don't forget, everybody, this had nothing to do. Betting is not legal now in Florida. Sports gambling is not legal in any state. What the Supreme Court ruled is that states have the right to decide for themselves. That's all they decided. They did not make sports gambling legal.
During your tenure with the Marlins or even the Expos, did you ever have the whiff of something where you or your team had to look into whether a player was gambling or whether there was anything involved with gambling somewhere near your franchise?
Not on baseball. We had some players who did some gambling on horses, and that was always problematic to me, not because of anything other than the irresponsibility of being addicted to that type of gambling can cause you to possibly get involved with something worse. So that was always my issue. No indication of anything baseball related ever at all, nor other sports, but yes, on the horses.
We've got a great story involving Pete Rose and a bad beat that we'll play for you in a moment. But when Dwayne Casey was fired as after Coach of the Year, like a couple of days after being Coach of the Year, you recognize that one, right? You're like, yeah, that's something that we did.
I was saying that sounds like something I would do. And then I said, oh, wait, I did do that. It happens, right? I mean, it seems so incongruous, except that they had decided to fire Casey the minute they lost and it had nothing to do with it, whether he was going to be Coach of the Year. They had to do something in their mind to try to get out of the first round. It's the same way the Nationals felt about Dusty Baker. And our reason for firing Girardi, I can't even remember. It was so many years ago, but Girardi ended up okay.
What was the best story you can tell us about a disagreement between Girardi and Loria?
Well, I mean, the number one was the day he almost got fired. I mean, that was the greatest story ever told of that season. In the middle of the season, we actually did fire Girardi because Girardi yelled at Loria in the middle of a game, which is totally inappropriate. So we had to go fire Girardi that day. And then that night we had to rehire him and tell the players we didn't actually fire Girardi. He's coming back. And then we fired him again after the season.
But what happened there? Like, I know you've talked to us about some of that, but what specifically happened there? What did Loria say? Girardi's not going to just yell at him for no reason.
Well, no, Jeffrey was yelling at the umpire and looking for a call, looking for a better ball strike call. There's nothing worse than a dugout or anybody sitting on the side of a baseball game commenting to an umpire about in or out for a strike, right? You can't see it from that angle. It's preposterous. So Jeffrey was yelling at the home plate umpire, which it's his right to do. There's owners who do it. There's players who do it. But Jeffrey was vociferous in his objection to this ball strike call. And Girardi in front of everybody. And at the time, I think our attendance, there were probably 200 or 300 people in the stands. So it was not difficult to hear. And Girardi yelled loud enough that in any sort of business situation, the employee yelling at the employer that way and that publicly, albeit only 200 people, would be enough to warrant a dismissal.
True or false, if you had any attendance whatsoever, Loria wouldn't have heard Girardi disrespecting him?
False, because Jeffrey built the stadium to sit right next to the dugout. You could hear a mouse fart between the dugout and where Jeffrey sat.
He built the stadium, you said, so he could sit next to the dugout? What the hell did you say?
Well, he gave himself a seat right next to the dugout.
He chose his seat and the angle so that he could see the dugout, which is great for the other people in the Diamond Club as well at Marlins Park.
It'd be great if that was the only reason he built it.
That's right. Built the whole thing. They started with his seat. He sat in it, and then they started building around him.
That's a great story, just not true.
Can you listen to this story here about Pete Rose and a bad beat that we're all going to enjoy together?
I had a horse 6 in front one night at Latonia, which is a track in Cincinnati, and a damn deer ran out of the woods and knocked my jockey off the horse.
That's hilarious.
That's the God's honest truth, guys. A deer ran out of the damn woods and knocked the horse jockey off the damn horse.
How much was your horse winning by?
He was 6.5 in front, going down the backside. They put a wall up at the track now. The deers can't get on the track.
There you go, Samson. We just thought we'd give you something there. A great story to punctuate the segment. We'll talk to you later.
See you later.
Bye. It's such a great story. We can't play it enough. We really can't. The idea that Pete Rose himself is telling you. You realize with this gambling ruling, I think that the first place that this is going to end up where you can actually do it outside of, it's not going to be in Florida anytime soon, but I think you're going to be able to rejuvenate the entire horse track industry this way.
No doubt. I mean, listen, they better have, you might be right, okay? But they better have, I'm not going to go to a dog track or a horse track just to place a bet. There has to be some mobile app. There has to be something, someplace, somehow where, I can do it from home. I have to be sitting on my couch. I don't want to leave.
If it's the only place you can do it, legally, and not break the law, you don't think? I understand that you're lazy and privileged.
Right, yeah, I am. Well, I'm just so used to the old way of not having to leave the couch. That's why I said I prefer this thing in the shadows, man. It's easier. I feel like I'm doing something a little wrong, but it's right because I'm guessing everyone's doing it, but I still feel like I'm doing a little something wrong, and I don't have to leave my couch. I'm not leaving the couch. Ever.
Every part of you looks like the dog track.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all